Welcome back to the Mid Morning Show with myself, Nafisa Dango, and definitely an inspirational one this morning. And we're going to be talking to Sister Saadia Gani about a center that she's founded, which is called The Light from Many Lamps. And the center was conceived in the spirit of caring for those who feel overwhelmed by their situations and have nowhere to turn to. So it's creating that gap, it's bridging that gap where people that are in situations now have a particular support structure that they could go to for whatever issues it may be. They offer marital counseling, legal marriage contracts, arbitration, mediation, and of course support structures to those that are going through GBV as well. The name of the center it's very interesting because Sadia's dad was actually her inspiration for the Light from Many Lamps Foundation. He used to read her the book called The Light from Many Lamps, and during her childhood, and she believes maybe her dad read this book to her, hoping that one day his daughter would be inspired to open a center called The Light from Many Lamps. And indeed, so it has definitely made her look at the perspective of wanting to help people in many directions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very warm welcome to you this morning, Sister Saadia.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Nafisa. Thank you so much for having us in the space to share with you and your wonderful media network. And hello and assalamu alaikum to all the listeners out there.
It's such a phenomenal thing to see people reaching out from a very selfless level. And that's what we look at, to say that what is it that we can do to help others besides ourselves? Talk to us about the inception. I mean, I know your dad it has been such an inspiration to you. And I know the book, The Light, from Many Lamps is so inspirational. It's actually an inspirational book which inspires you yourself to get enticed into wanting to do things not just for yourself but for others. So let's talk a little bit about yourself and your dad, and then we can go into the inception of the foundation itself.
Yeah, sure. No, like the initial, I suppose the spark behind it started many, many years ago with the book when, my dad would always flaunt the book Light from Many Lamps. We would give it to almost all our friends as gifts. And it was just some kind of inspiration where we would draw from all the sources, the wisdoms out there. And he would always read it to us. And look, that's right in the background. But as far as the center is concerned, it was inspired more by the Islamic worldview and the prophetic model that we have. If we look at Islam, it's based on the notion of composite dignity, where our dignity, our self-worth, and our well-being is always entwined with that of others. We've always learned that as Muslims, we are one humanity, and as believers, we've always been taught many ahadith and from the Quran that we are one building or one human, one body, and that when one part of the building or one part of the body is affected, then the entire entity is affected. So that is the Islamic backdrop that inspired the center as well. And then we also move on to the prophetic model. If we look at our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sent as a mercy to all mankind. And the Quran beautifully describes his mission and his prophetic role at the end of Surah Toba, when he's described as being intensely concerned and grievous about the plight of his people, constantly seeking solutions for them, and thirdly, always kind and merciful towards them. So this caring ethos has been bred in us as Muslims, and we've been born with that. And obviously, our parents had a great role in reminding us of that particular role. And if you want me to continue, I will.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah. Another very important inspiration happened. It was actually an incident. In December, I received a call from a friend of mine while on holiday in Cape Town, and she told me that she wanted to separate from her spouse after 20 or 22 years of marriage, and she needed some advice. So I started advising her, and at the end of the conversation, I told her, I said, look, this is where I stop. I can only advise you up to this point. Now it's your journey. You will have to walk the road. And then I put the phone down. And when I put the phone down, I realized how selfish that comment was. Just leaving her out there to walk the journey, walk her road. And I made a secret wish in my heart. And I said, I wish I had a center filled with experts that could help her, that could come to her
Mm,
needs.
mm.
And I think I left it at there, but maybe somewhere out there, the universe heard that wish, and within a month, the center became a reality.
That's
And
absolutely
I
amazing.
find that amazing. I find that amazing.
It is.
So
It most
it's
definitely
nice
is.
to
I
be
think
heard in the, yeah,
she's inspired you to think about the types of situations people are literally in and how you can
yes,
help them move forward. And I think that's so selfless because a lot of, and I mean, if we look around us, there's not a single person that hasn't been facing a particular challenge that they need help with.
yeah,
And they don't have that space where they can go to be able to, ball it all out and try and get help. In this day and age, unfortunately, everybody's not somebody that you can speak to about the type of situation you're in. So
yes,
I think this is like a safe haven where you know that even if you can go and speak the deepest, darkest things that have happened to you and try and get
yes,
enticed into a space where you find your light and you find your direction and your path. That's what people are looking for. And literally, I was so blown away by this when I read it last night, and I said to myself, "What a phenomenal concept!" Because it was something that I think but everybody has been looking for. And you've now created this concept. Talk to us a little bit about the center and what it offers for people and what sort of success stories at a later stage you can talk about that. Do you have us? I mean, I think it's a phenomenal concept because if you look at the types of situations people are in right now, like you just said now, this particular friend or lady that has been reaching out there but not knowing how to find the help and which way to move forward. Whereas, and as you were saying, you felt as though you left her in the dark there, which I found
absolutely.
very interesting because you have now created that light where, that light and that ray of hope that she's been looking for.
Yes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the vision of the center, how it was created, whatever. So look, that's how the concept was thought of. But then it actually just took off like a ray of light, from inspiration, and it just started to take off. And when it took off, our first step was to reach out for volunteers, because as you know, the center is nothing without its volunteers. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a single effort. It's a global. It's a community. It's for the community, by the community. So I was not able to set up the center on my own. I needed to reach out to the community and draw on its experts, because what we wanted to offer was not only a safe haven, but a team of
Mm.
experts, friendship, hope, and a team of experts that were going to offer services at a level unknown to these people, because these were now going to be professional experts from the community. So we sent out a little note saying, volunteers needed, volunteers required, please reach out. And lo
Mm.
and behold, we got a phenomenal response. At the moment, we are sitting with a team of 50 members,
Mm.
volunteers. Of
Sure.
that, yes, yeah. Of that, I just want to give you the exact stats. We have a psychological volunteer panel of made up of 20 individuals. Of there, we have 8 qualified psychologists who are truly experts in their field in different aspects,
Mhm.
educational, whatever. Then we have a range of social workers, about 3 to 5, and the rest of them comprise of wellness coaches, NLP practitioners, and those sort of holistic wellness coaches. Then
Right.
we have a general volunteer team who people have come out said, we don't even mind sweeping, we just want to be part of the program. That's a team of 9 of them. And then we have qualified and mediators and arbitrators from the community, ranging from our ex High Commissioner for Human Rights, Shafi Amir Mia, even Judge Jody Colopin of the Constitutional Court is in
Wow.
our community. He's also volunteered. We have Ibrahim Ismail Abramji. I don't want to point out names for fear of leaving anybody out. But what I'm trying to point out is that we have very influential and expert people that have come on board, which was very, very heartwarming. Then on our premarital team, we also have a team of 6. And on our research team, we have a team of 9. Now, to give you an idea about what the center is all about, it's not only, it starts off with counseling, because we feel that is our current situation where we have
Mm.
all these social illnesses. And the example I like to use, which I was thinking about in my mind, was, if you look at the post-COVID world, we
Mm.
see the potential that a virus, when it turns into a pandemic, it can overtake our
Mhm.
lives almost instantly and change things forever. Now, likewise, we need to think ahead and say that these problems of ours are actually social viruses. And if we allow them to get out of control, they will indeed turn into a
Mm.
social pandemic that will overtake us overnight, and we won't be able to manage it like with the COVID. So what we're trying to do in this particular center is create a program of social reform. So what we're going
Mm.
to do
Mm.
is actually offer the counseling, which is the immediate need at the moment. But from there, we'd like to dilute the problems into different categories so that we can work backwards and try and resolve them by providing solutions and constructive efforts towards their eradication. To use like an example, what we're trying to do is develop a vaccine for a potential
Right.
social pandemic. And these vaccines will be found in the areas of research, premarital counseling, arbitration, because they're all preventative measures aimed at increasing the resilience and the strength of our
Mm.
society to deal with the social viruses. So, the way things work at our center is now we have a care line. And if
Right.
somebody has a problem, they call the care line. Now we are very, very mindful of confidentiality. We've worked through all these serious admin issues, confidentiality, indemnity, etc. So what happens is when they call us, they give us a short summary of the issue. Like for example, our first client was very sadly a 4-year-old little boy whose parents were both on drugs, and he
Sure.
was living with his granny, and he didn't know how to love. He was full of anger. He just needed he needed to talk to someone. Fortunately for us, we put it on the group. So what we do is we put it on the, now there's all these various groups. So we have the psychological group. So we post it on the psychological group that, listen, we've got this 4-year-old that needs
Mm.
help. And we summarize it very shortly. Can somebody message me privately? So in that case, nobody knows who's the 4-year-old, where he comes from, which area, whatever.
Right.
They message me privately, the psychologist, saying that she's willing. Then I release the name to her in confidence. Obviously, then there's the confidentiality between psychologist and patient, and then we're not part of that. The entire intimation becomes confidential.
Mm.
Then we post on the group. We've allocated a psychologist. Let's pray together. Then we all pray, and our collective energies as well are the first starting point for the healing of the patient. Now, this little 4-year-old, we had a lovely lady that volunteered to
Mm.
to help this little boy. Her name is Wasima, and she's becoming a child psychologist. And she's met with him. She's already started with the clay, and he was very eager in his first meeting. She wanted to know what car she drives, and he came to the center. The center is actually designed in such a way that it's quite elaborate. We try to make it quite not fancy, but it looks like a very posh place. So you think you're entering this realm of healing, but you're being spoiled at the
Right.
same time. And then we offer tea and coffee and toys for the kids. So that particular session is going well. He's coming again to the center, and I think he'll need more and more sessions.
I
And as a
like the
group, we
environment, Sadi. I like the environment that you just spoke about now, because what happens
yeah,
is it creates that lightheartedness. Because normally when people are in
yeah,
these situations, they're in a very serious vibe. They don't know what to expect. They're a bit fearful, as you say. We're talking about this 4-year-old now, but you've created that
yeah,
lovable, comfortable environment where a person, it makes it way easier for them to actually come into your space and deal with the type of situation they're at, because already you've created that, should we say, winded down kind of situation where they realize, you know what, I can deal with my situation here and lighten up a bit and open up and speak about it. And I think the environment is really crucial to the type of work that you're doing. So I think I find that absolutely amazing to see that you've thought about that aspect as well, because in many spaces, when you walk into something and the environment is serious and it's very concrete, then what happens is you get fearful to be able to speak, because you feel that the kind of environment you're in construes you to be serious. So I like the idea that your foundation is dealing with the situation from a light-hearted yet a very impactful point of view.
yes, for sure. In fact, Nafisa, I think it's so important when we walk in. We've got, my sister-in-law's mom, Auntie Nafisa. She's an interior decorator. She came in and she chose the colors for us. So we chose yellow and blue, and
Mhm.
everything is very bright in the center. When we had our first meet and greet, everybody said that they felt it was full of light. So I think that is not only because of the colors. I also want to attribute that light to maybe, I don't know. I'm just trying to understand the light that's coming into the center. So I spoke to Sheikh Fadlala Harry, who was actually
Mhm.
part of the Rasuli Center for a long, long time. And I was told that it was his dream also to open up such a center. And he's always having talks about light and so I think his light is also there. And I think it's
Mm.
not only my mission, but it's a mission of many people that came before that wanted to do something like this. And that is why Allah has facilitated it for us in this way.
And you spoke about looking at the prophetic way. So you could also say that it's the prophetic light, but it's also
Yes.
uh, the end of the story. When people come to you, the final end of the story that they reach brings the light into their lives, and that light emanates within the foundation itself. So I think the concept is absolutely phenomenal, because as we're talking about, we always say when people are in situations, they're so stuck in the darkness, and yet you're there to offer them the light through the hope, as I said.
Yes, and more importantly as well, what we want people to realize is that the light is within themselves as well. I want to draw from some of the writings of Sheikh Fadlala Harry, where he said that we're composed of two selves: the outer cultural self and the inner self, which is the light of lights. And it's our duty as human beings to calibrate with our light, with the divine light. And the more in tune we are with our light, the more we will live in the present moment and the more we will emanate His.
I agree with you there. It goes to show that people from those kinds of statures encourage us to actually find our paths and our ways and our visions. And I think he's also helped you find your purpose, which I think is absolutely amazing, because you've now realized that you have a very serious purpose. Your purpose is there to uplift and empower people and change their lives for the better through the light and through the encouragement of the center itself.
Yes. And then one more thing I'd like to share maybe is, with regard to how we want to move backwards, is that, like, look, for example, we had one case where a gentleman came in and he said he was getting divorced, and he gave us, now when it's a divorce matter, I take a personal interest only in the, like, obviously, because I've also been through a divorce, and I feel
Mm,
my
mhm,
experience has qualified me to a small extent. But I take a very keen interest in the divorce matters. So what I do is, just for the divorce matters, because I feel that's the only place where I can really intervene, being a lawyer, not a psychologist.
mhm,
So when the divorce matter comes in, I do a pre-screening on the candidate, and I have a brief conversation with him or her, and I see whether there's any prospect of reconciliation. And if there's even
right.
a flicker of reconciliation, then I try and shift the energies towards reconciliation, where we offer them mediation, more discussions. We even brief the psychologist to tell her that, this particular marriage looks like it can work. Can you, baby, guide them towards reconciliation? Because our aim is not to end marriages, but to try and see if we can fix them if it's possible. And if they've ended, and we have marriages, we've come across 2 or 3 marriages already that are now already at the end of the road. But now we've told them, and I've offered to mediate on one of the cases, and I've told them that, look, now the time is to proceed as friends and in kindness in the interest of the children. So they were not
Mm,
too thrilled in the beginning, but I've given them 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have a session, a mediation session,
mm,
where we're going to work for them to proceed as friends, and in kindness in the best interest of the children. So, in short, what
mm.
we're trying to do is, create a better society where there's more peace, more harmony, more light, more ease, more comfort, more fun, and more joy. We don't have, everything doesn't have to end in disaster. Even divorce can
For
become
sure.
the beginning of a bright new world for both parties.
Although it's a difficult one, we must say.
No, for
Going on
sure.
forward, going on forward, where do you see yourself heading to? Because I mean, you are doing so many different aspects of it, and the idea I love is that you created this holistic environment where people can go
Yes.
to. It's not just one particular aspect that you're dealing with, as we went through all of them right now, was the fact that you've created a platform where anybody that's facing a particular challenge can look at your foundation and say, I'd like to go there because they have that particular structure and that spinal cord that I've been looking for.
Yes. Now, look, our next program that we've got lined up, we've invited and we've obviously arranged for Professor Weda Amin. She's she's the expert and professor of law at the University of Cape Town. She's going to
Mm,
come and shed light on Muslim marriages, the new, under the new dispensation with the new case law. And she's going to give participants, especially the lawyers, and we're also trying to target, and that's why I feel on this show, if there's any imams that want to also come, those who are registered as marriage officers, we're inviting them as well for this course so that they can then create like a pro forma draft marriage contract which will cover secular and Islamic protection for both parties for the future, because now it's very dangerous and for parties to get married without such a contract. So this is what we're encouraging, and this particular
mm,
course with Professor Weda Amin is aimed at creating this awareness about the need for marriage contracts. So likewise, we're
okay.
going to anticipate other programs. We've got a very interesting lady from America called Becca Pugh. This also, she's a godsend. She worked in Palestine. She's a peace catalyst. She's working part time on a voluntary basis as well at the center.
Mm-hmm,
She's helping us formulate policies, and with all her experience. So
mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah, Allah is sending the right places, people through, and once again, I just want to take the opportunity to thank all our volunteers because they are the stars and the light of the center. Nothing will be possible without them, and we just hope for more and more light into our lives.
Your name of your foundation, I must say, is very apt. The light from many lamps, because from the different types of situations you deal with, there's a lamp in each one of them, and there's a light in each one
Absolutely,
of them. And
yes.
and I think that that is going to see you, move to many places and spaces. And I'm very excited to see in a few months' time where you've headed to, because as I said, you've created now this platform for communities where there was never one before. What has this meant for you?
Oh, for me on a personal level, it's just meant so much. I always thought I didn't have enough time because I'm a student and I'm a mom. I'm a single mom of
Mm,
two kids, and I'm a lawyer. That with a practice and everything. And I always thought, there's just no time.
mm,
To do
mm,
these type of things. But now, since this thing has it's come up, it's like so much part of my life. I spend a few hours every day. I'm on the phone, with the people, and I just feel that my day has become bigger. They
most
just, I have
definitely.
more space and I have more time and there's more quality, and I feel, it just keeps me centered because I keep feeling that whatever we go through is so small and so, it's so meager compared to what others are going out there. And we need to be
Mm,
grateful at every point in time for every little blessing, because when we look out there, we see the challenges that people face. And,
mm.
it's very, it's like a real wake up call.
Yeah, and also I think it gives you that direction and that food for thought to say, you know what, where do I head to
Yeah,
next? And I think it allows you to also define the needs within the communities, because as we know,
absolutely.
each person, each community has different defined needs of the types of
Mm,
challenges they're facing. So it allows you to also look at that. But
yeah.
from a perspective of your foundation, what message do you think is the most important you'd like to leave us with this morning?
Like I just, the message I'd like to leave is that, we are all one. We're a
Mm,
single organism. And we
mm,
can't for one moment think that we are alone. We are intertwined with the fate of everyone else. And the well-being of your neighbor or those five doors away from you or in the rest of society, they will eventually catch up with you. So we have to work
mm.
together as a society, breathe as one, live as one, and stay as one.
And that's the whole idea. It's about creating the unity, and the Ubuntu is what we stand for here as South Africans. And it's, I think, should we say, a milestone that you've created, a real grand stepping stone to be able to follow through with that particular word, because it brings people together from like minded situations and makes them also understand that they're not alone.
No, for sure. In fact, I'm so touched that you brought up Ubuntu because that is a very, very close topic to my heart. I did my master's last year, and my topic
Hmm.
was creating a systems approach to place Ubuntu at the center of our jurisprudential scene. And in that master's dissertation, I draw upon Yasser Auda and how he's used the systems theory for Makasid
Mm.
studies and tried to analyze how that can be used in South Africa to reinvigorate Ubuntu, which is actually the life changing force of our nation. And we haven't even begun to understand the potential that Ubuntu has for our nation.
For sure. And there's something that's definitely edged me on. Reading about you and your center has inspired me in many directions. It's given me that light to understand that there's light, little lamps and lights out there from your foundation that can move people from better places and spaces into phenomenal ones. So there's something that I want to read to you, and this is dedicated to you. It says, the essence of great leadership is influence, not authority. And I think you've shown that through and through your leadership. So we wish you nothing but the best going forward. And I'm really glad to see that light from many lamps has been changing people's lives for the better. And we've definitely gotten what we've been looking for. So we are hoping to tap into you at some point. But Jazakallah so much for joining us this morning and making people understand that they do have those support structures out there. Before we go, just please tell us exactly where you're based and how people can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Yes, we're based in Raslow, Pretoria, and we've got a care line. So that's available. I don't want to read it out now because I don't have access to it, but we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on all these platforms. You can just Google us, Light from Many Lamps Counseling Center, and you'll get all the information that you require. And we say that we welcome everybody. Even if you're not in our jurisdiction, we will make a plan to zoom in and shed light on your issues, inshallah. And thank you
Ameen.
again for having us and allowing us to shed light on our center. Thank you. Assalamu
Jazakallah so
alaikum.
much. It was an honor speaking to you. And like I said, you've given us the light and the ray of hope. Jazakallah so much. All the best. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Wa alaikum
barakatuh.
salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Saadia Gani Ismail, definitely an inspirational woman. They've created that, should we say, that bridging gap we've been looking for such a long time. Take a look at their pages, their Instagram, their Facebook, and get enticed to actually find yourself going there to their center to be able to help you get over those challenges that you're facing. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in a second.